Hello, my name's Adam. Welcome to my Rare Classic Car channel. Today, a fun one for the Canadians. My 1968 Meteor Montcalm. A very, very unique car. Not sold in the US. Sold in Canada and select international markets. I believe like Australia and some others. But built in Canada. This car is essentially a Mercury Park Lane body with its own unique grille and even unique side marker lamp treatment with a Ford LTD interior. So Meteor in Canada was a brand from, oh gosh, the 40s or 50s until around 1975, somewhere around the mid 70s. And it was started because in Canada you have a very rural dealer network. And so if you have a dealership, it has to service all kinds of buyers in that area. And the Mercury dealers really just were having trouble competing against the Canadian Pontiac dealers. So Pontiac was the volume brand for General Motors in Canada for many years until it was sunset. And if you watch the video of my Parisienne, you'll see that Canadian Pontiacs are different from US Pontiacs. And they're actually priced a bit lower. Well, this Meteor brand was started in Canada to compete with those Canadian Pontiacs. And so Mercury dealers sold them. You can see this one came from Guthrie Kingdon Mercury in Sarnia, Ontario. And it was its own lineup, really of lower end Mercuries. So this car, as I mentioned, it's a Mercury Park Lane body. It does have the Ford LTD interior. It came standard with a 6-cylinder. This car has a 302 V8, 210 gross horsepower. And this car is 2,100 original miles. It had 1,400 when I bought it 6 years ago, and I just can't stop driving it. The color, this Madras blue metallic paint, is just stunning. And it's a white painted top from the factory. According to the Marty report for this car, this is one of 13 that are made in this color combination. So extremely rare car. And it has some options. Doesn't have air conditioning, but it has comfort stream ventilation, the 302 V8, power steering, power brakes, AM radio, the white painted top, full wheel covers, white wall tires, which it did have white walls from the factory. These are new replacements. And disc brakes as well. So this was a dealer stock car. And you can see, you turn the wheel, 2,100 miles. This is the comfort stream ventilation here. So what you do is there's this little lever. One of these is the pull for the kick well vent. It says right air. Then you see it says comfort stream. And you pull it and it directs air out these two vents, which are quite unique in that you flip them. If you want to block it, you flip it that way. And if you want it to blow the other way, you rotate it that way. Kind of interesting approach. Just basic heater and wipers and everything. But you can see this is the Ford LTD trim with the faux wood grain, but it says Meteor Montcalm. So in 1968, the Meteor lineup was such that the base car was the Rideau 500, the Montcalm was the mid-price car, and then the Lemoyne was the top of the line kind of LTD Brougham equivalent interior. This would have been the standard LTD equivalent interior. And this car still has its original plastic seat covers on it from the original owner. And it even has the seatbelt bags still on the rear seat belts. Talk about rare. And everything is just in phenomenal condition for being so old. This car sat in, it was bought by an individual who, I bought it from his nephew. He said his uncle was a quirky bachelor who bought this car new, owned a machine shop, and basically parked it in the back of the machine shop and kept driving his pickup truck. And as time went on, it just got barricaded in and sat there. So I bought it from the nephew, and found it, as I said, with just 1,400 original miles on it. Needing some work, needing fuel system kind of gone through, all the fluids changed, new tires. The exhaust was actually perfect. It's still the stock exhaust. Brake components, master cylinder, wheel cylinders, standard stuff. I'll show you the trunk here. Terrible key placement on these. Or I guess I'll have to come back and show you the trunk. I have the wrong trunk key on here. One problem with having so many cars. It's the same as the 68 Park Lane. We'll take a look at the 302 V8. I apologize, the car's a bit dusty. Got it out of storage here and don't want to wash it and then put it back in all wet. So again, the 302 V8, just standard V8, but it runs wonderfully. Such a smooth running engine. Original radiator hose still. I did change all the fluids in the thermostat. Original radiator. I have the original belts in the trunk. I had to change them to drive it because they were getting kind of fragile. I mean, look at the fender aprons and the control arms. This was just a car that sat for many, many years. Here, I'll start it up. Can't quite do my normal reach-in test because the reach is pretty big here. But I won't step on the accelerator. I won't cheat. Yeah, let's see. All right, let's try that again. One problem with having too many Fords. All the keys look the same. Here we go. I mean, can you even hear that running? So quiet. Just as smooth as can be. Faultless. No noise. It's the whirring of the fan. This really is one of my favorite engines. Just because of how quiet it is. It's got great torque. It's only 210 gross horsepower, so probably something around 170 net, which isn't that much, so it's not a rocket ship, but very torquey motor. Let's try the trunk again now that I found the right key. Original spare, original belts that got a little moldy, but there they are. Got your Meteor owner's manual and fact book. Huge trunk. I love the jack with the spring that is in here that, you know, not a really great setup from Ford. Kind of can jiggle or whatever. Some people put towels in there to stop that. This one doesn't jiggle too badly. Overall, just a wonderful, unique car. And the Canadians had these different vehicles kind of until the mid-70s. So Meteor went away in the mid-70s, and also the Canadian Pontiac went away. And it was quite humorous in the early to mid-70s, like 73, 4, and 5, I want to say. Pontiac had both the US Pontiac and the Canadian Pontiac in the showroom at the same time. So there was the Strato Chief, Laurentian, Parisian, Catalina, Bonneville, and Executive, you know, depending upon what year Pontiac you're talking about. After the Executive was sunset, and they had the Granville at the top end of the line, and then the Bonneville became the midline, and then the Catalina. So, but you had 6 Pontiacs in the showroom for a few years, overlap. But just a phenomenally driving car. So why don't we close this up and take it for a ride. Maybe one last shot with the hood closed. I did find an original 1968 Ontario plate to put in the front, just to set the car off. Kind of a toothy grille, but still a really nice car. Let's go for a drive. All right, so here we are in the Meteor Montcalm. We'll start it up. Wow, is this 302 ever smooth. I mean, you think about a big car like this, and that this 302 isn't going to move it, and it's pretty shocking. I mean, is it a drag racer when you step into it? No, but it's also not slow, and if you're driving around town like this, stoplight to stoplight, it actually feels torquey and peppy. It's amazingly quiet. This car still has all the stock exhaust on it. And I bought this car when it had about, I think, 1,400 miles on it, and I now have 2,100. Probably over the course of 6 or 7 years I put that mileage on. I just can't stop driving it because I love the color, I love the way it looks. I baby it, it never comes out on a bad day, but it's just such an enjoyable ride. The 302 is perfect in this car. I've got these same vehicles with the 390, the 410, and while of course the other ones are more powerful and enjoyable, this is not the penalty box at all. You don't feel that with this motor you're compromising. You don't have necessarily the same performance, but it doesn't feel like it's really a downgrade. And honestly, I would say the smoothness of this 302, I think it's smoother than the 390s I have. For whatever reason, my 410 is an extremely smooth motor. And I would say that one's actually the smoothest of all of them. This does have the excellent Motorcraft 2100 two-barrel carburetor. I haven't even really rebuilt the carburetor. When I got this car, the accelerator pump was dead. And these are so great, I just, you know, it's an external accelerator pump. So 4 screws, a new diaphragm later, and it's back all ready to be driven. It's kind of scary, I guess. I'm still driving on the original needle and seat, but haven't had any reason to take it apart. Although I will say, if you're gonna drive or rebuild a carburetor, these Motorcraft 2-barrels are a great place to start. They're very easy, not complicated, not hard to get everything back together right. But you can see this car just cruises effortlessly. I love the maple leaf here in the wheel, because it's a Meteor. These Mercurys and Fords of this vintage just have a quality all to their own when it comes to the ride. And I just don't have another way to describe it. It's almost a perfect ride. Not perfect handling, but a perfect ride. So I stepped on it a little bit. You can see, like I said, it's not a rocket ship. If I'm going 40 and I floor it, it's taking a while to get up to 50. But like I said, around town, stoplight to stoplight, effortless. You want to go on the freeway 75, 80 miles an hour, effortless. Even with a 275 rear end that this car has. So don't shy away from the 302s in these cars, I guess would be my advice. It's a great motor. You're not going to be the fastest car on the street, but it's extremely pleasant. I'm at a stoplight like this and I feel nothing. I hear nothing. I hear somebody else's truck. I don't hear my car. So I just love how wonky these cars are with the Ford dashboard, the Mercury body. It's just a great story to tell anybody who's into cars. I had never heard of these until I went to Canada, and two came up for sale actually in a relatively short period of time. This one and a convertible the same year. And the convertible came up first for sale. It was a beautiful, like a bluey silvery color, and it wasn't a bad price. It was a $390 car, and I just couldn't get there fast enough, and it was already sold. That car had, maybe the convertible had 20,000 miles. Then a week later, this Meteor Montcalm four-door hardtop came up for sale, and it had 1,400 miles. And I said, I have to get there the next day, and I did, and bought it. And again, this was not a, in spite of how low mileage this car was, this car had the original tires still on it when I bought it. Still has the original spare in the back. All original belts, hoses. But I saw this, and I went to go see it, and I basically said I have to buy it. I mean, it needed all the typical work from sitting. But after draining the gas tank, doing a little bit of carb work, changing all the fluids, changing the master cylinder, the rear wheel cylinders, some brake lines, had to change the distributor cap and rotor. But after that, it just purrs. I mean, just purrs. And it's one of my favorite cars. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the 68 Meteor Montcalm. Happy motoring. And here's the Marty report for this car. You can see it's one of 13 with this paint code, one of 11 with this paint and trim code, one of 747 with a 302 V8. 88 had two-tone paint ordered from the factory. And here you can see the various options. The non-emission system, I believe, is just because it's a Canadian car. It has disc brake steering, the comfort stream ventilation, wheel covers, two-tone paint, white wall tires, 302 V8, and there's the original dealer owner card. And it was a stocked vehicle, again, at Guthrie Kingdon Motors. So super, super rare car. They did not make many of these. Hope you enjoyed.